Hi, my name is Govindh Jayaraman, and I want to talk to you about something that I don't usually do. So I want to talk about what two other thought leaders have done out there in the world, and that's James Altucher and Grant Cardone, two amazing thought leaders who've written great stuff, have recorded some great stuff, but these two things are flat out wrong and I think dangerous. Cardone has gone out there and said buying a house for suckers, and James Altucher has said that it's financial suicide to own a home. They make a bunch of assumptions. Cardone goes so far as to say that if you don't have $20 million in cash, it's a dumb idea to buy a house. They're flat out wrong. I'm unapologetic about it. I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to point you some data and resources that are in the show notes here on this video where you can actually get some information about what's really going on in home buying in North America. So here's the deal. Number one, how much money are you really putting down? Both articles talk about putting an ungodly amount of money down on the property. Most first-time home buyers are only putting down about 10%. They're talking about putting up to 40% down on a house. Makes no sense. If you're going to put 40% down on a house, absolutely, that's way too much. Put down the 10% and use the other 30% for other things. And what's the difference in real financial terms? Well, 10% of $300,000, which is about the average of a first-time home buyer in North America, is something like $30,000. So $30,000 is 10% of 300. 40% is $120,000. Big $90,000 difference between those two. So when you're listening to thought leaders about important things like this, make sure you're digging into the assumptions, because that assumption's flat out wrong. Number two, most people way overbuy on a property. And here's what it looks like. You go into the bank, get pre-approved for a mortgage. The bank or mortgage company says, oh, I'll lend you $600,000. And people think they go out to the market, oh, I've got $600,000 to spend. And they spend it all. You overborrow when you do this. And when you do this, you're buying a mortgage and you're not buying a house. So what you need to do is understand that when you're renting a place, you tend to rent more like what you need right now. People buy their dreams when they buy houses. They don't buy intelligently. They buy just from their heart. So I'm going to say, instead of spending the $600,000 or $500,000 that the bank gives you, spend less than that. Economize on your house purchase. Buy the right size property for you and your family and where it's going right now. And then spend the rest on your lifestyle. Spend the rest on your education. Don't become house poor. And maybe, just maybe, you can take those extra $90,000 in that $300,000 example and kick off that business idea that you've been wanting to do. Or go to school. Learn a new skill so you can earn more income like you've been wanting to do. Now, keep in mind, and this is the number one area where both of these articles get it way wrong, is you have to live somewhere. And living anywhere isn't for free. Unless you're surfing on your parents' couches and that's cool for you, fine. But it's not cool for me. And the bottom line is you got to live somewhere, and living anywhere is going to cost you money. In every scenario, in every example, you can actually use the calculator that's in the show notes to calculate for interest, to calculate for inflation, to calculate for all the costs. It's a very complicated calculator, made it very simple in the show notes, and you can see that really it costs less to buy a home than it costs to rent. And here's the simple math. If you're sitting in a house, renting it, or an apartment for $2,000 a month, which is about a reasonable amount of rent for a normal family, that's $24,000 a year, and over 3 years, you're talking about $72,000. That's a lot of money just to spend. But if you're thinking about the down payment of $30,000, and then your mortgage interest payments, which, by the way, are tax deductible in the United States, and I'm going to talk about an opportunity in Canada on mortgage interest as well. But when you think about it that way as being something that you can recoup some of that money, it becomes much more reasonable. Now, here's the other piece, and here's the big piece. The number one thing in a manufacturing capitalist environment like Canada and North America and the United States is, number one is that homes go up in value, especially when you make value-added improvements. So what's value-added mean? Value-added is the cornerstone of capitalism. I take something, I make it better, and I can sell it for more and make a little bit of profit. Now, in homes, most people tend to do crazy things. renovations that are really important to them. They overbook on systems. They overpay for systems that they think are very special to them, but really have marginal resale value. The four biggest areas to get resale value, believe it or not, are floors, walls, so painting of walls, and updating kitchens and bathrooms. Other than that, it's kind of all extras. Now, you can't have your windows in a state of disrepair. You need to have those fixed. And the roof, if it's falling apart, of course, you're going to have to fix as well. But the reality is you can usually make sure that you buy smartly so that the windows are in a good state of repair when you buy them, and the roof is in a good state of repair when you go in, so you're not replacing those things during the life. And all you're doing is value adding along those four areas, again, floors, walls, bathrooms, and kitchens, that are most valuable to preserving or building value in a house. A lot of people spend money like on 100-year roofs, which you're never going to get the value out of, or on landscaping, which you're never going to get the value out of. And when you do that, you really undermine the amount of resale value you're going to get in terms of recouping your money. So both articles also sort of make this presumption that it's so hard to get out of a property. If you buy smartly and you spend some time thinking about where you're going to buy, it's not hard to get out of a home. In fact, most circumstances find that you can actually get out of your house purchase within less than 30 to 60 days. Now, the other thing is, when you think about selling a home, the other option that you always have, in case you want to move for a job or something else, is to rent the home. So when you have the asset, you have options. Assets mean options. A house is an asset. Regardless of what these guys will tell you, a house is an asset, and assets give you options. Options create flexibility. Is this a good time to buy? Both of them say no. The reality is, the Economist did a study over the last 50 years. It's in the show notes. Check it out. And it shows that it's actually a very good time to buy. In fact, when comparing rental rates versus home purchasing prices in just about every market in the United States, it makes way more sense in just about every market to buy versus rent. And the only places where it doesn't are places where it's obviously crazy. The real estate market's gone mad. One of those places, San Francisco. Another one of those places, Manhattan. Obviously, the values are insane in those markets, but even around those areas, you can find pockets that are better buys. So there are areas, and if you go and research that real estate market, you can find areas and pockets where there are good buys, and that makes a lot of sense. Now, finally, I said the mortgage interest was tax deductible in the United States, and that's true for everybody in the United States. For people in Canada, there's something called the Smith maneuver. Read about it in the show notes. Too complicated to talk about right here, but it's a way to make your mortgage interest tax deductible and an interesting investment strategy. Now, here's the bottom line, and this is the bottom line. You should probably buy a house. If you're going to live anywhere for any amount of time and don't want to surf on your parents' couch, which isn't cool by me, but if you want to do it, that's fine. But if you don't want to do that and you want to actually live somewhere, then you should probably buy a house. So buy the house and think about what it's going to mean for you. 9 times out of 10, the advice that you got from your grandparents and your parents still holds. Buying a house is the most important purchase you're ever going to make. Make it a great day.